Welcome to 49ers After Dark. We're your hosts, Cohn, Jessie Naylor. And if you didn't watch my show an hour ago with Larry Krueger, I'll repeat what I said at the beginning of that show. Javon and I spoke today. We met face-to-face. It was the first time I've ever met him face-to-face. He said what he wanted to say. I listened. We shook hands. We squashed it. It was in John Lynch's office. I proposed this after practice yesterday. John Lynch made it happen. I'm deeply appreciative of John and especially Javon, who was there in the office waiting for me when I got there. Really respect both of them. Appreciate both of them. It's squashed. It's over. It's drama. It's done. Let's not talk about it anymore.
Hey, I'm with it. Let's not talk about it anymore. Listen, I think that's cool. Like, I do want to say this real quick. I just think that that's cool that the 49ers were able to put that together so quickly. Cooler heads were able to prevail, and now we get to move forward.
Absolutely. And when I had Javon on my show last night, I was hoping, maybe wrongly, that we could do last night what we did today. So I'm glad that we did it. And you know what? It's something about being face to face with someone. Anyway, I don't want to talk about it anymore, but it's something about being face to face with someone all of a sudden. So it was a good day.
Absolutely. That's good.
All right. Let's talk about the quarterback, the new starting quarterback of this team, Trey Lance. He's the quarterback.
Did you say Jimmy Garoppolo? Were you going to say Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah, Jimmy's persona non grata right now. Brian Greasy was asked today, like, have you spoken to Jimmy since you got in the job? And he was like,
no.
Nope. Like, so this is Trey's time. He's getting all the first team reps, and if he looks good, then who cares about Jimmy Garoppolo at this point? And I mean, from what I saw, 17 to 20, he looked sharp. It was 7-on-7s. The first team defense was missing lots of starters, but like, really, what more do you want? What more is he supposed to do on May 24th in that setting? I think it was definitely the first hurdle, and he cleared it easily.
Well, and he was missing a lot of offensive linemen, right? It's the whole team was really missing. There was a lot.
It was mostly 7-on-7.
For sure.
There was some 11-on-11s, but yes.
For sure. And that's fine. Again, I don't think expecting day one of OTAs, you're going to come away with a lot of what you saw on the field. But there were a lot of things that I came away with, and we're going to discuss those throughout the night. But to me, I guess what I wanted to ask you is, like, did you notice anything? A lot of people talked about Trey Lance's throwing motion. I know the question was asked to Shanahan. I personally looked at it and wasn't like, oh, wow, it's so refined and different. I didn't see that. Maybe it was slightly different. And he talked about the finger being an issue and having to finish off of a different finger, and that threw him off a little bit last year. But to me, I didn't take a lot away from what I saw on field or what you reported you saw on field and the little bit that you showed us happened on field. I just didn't take a lot away from that, from a physical aspect and a throwing aspect. That's me personally.
Yeah, the one thing I would say is he just looked more decisive and confident. Like, it seemed to me like the ball was getting out of his hands quickly. He wasn't searching for his second read. He was getting the ball to his first read pretty quickly. Now, maybe that's just because it was 7-on-7s. But to me, that looked like a difference. And when I asked George Kittle about it after practice, he pointed to that. Like, he's just much more confident now. I think it showed. And Kittle even mentioned it, like, in a 7-on-7, you just got to stay in the pocket and throw. And that's good. That's good practice for him. I think he looked like it wasn't a weakness, right? 17 to 20. What more could you do?
Last year, even in 7-on-7s, was he pretty mobile? Like, would he roll out a lot? I know he did an 11-on-11s.
He would hold the ball a long time. There'd be hesitation.
Okay.
There'd be hesitation.
Okay. So that is a difference.
I think that's a difference.
Great.
I think it's a good one.
No, that's awesome. So, but what I will say is, and I did take something away from, I think it was your video that you posted where Trey Lance was throwing as the team was running out. He was kind of doing some throwing drills. And one thing I did notice, now this may not seem like a big deal to a lot of people, but to me, I look at the little nuances, the little wins. And to me, Trey Lance, you talked about confidence and being more decisive on the field. I think that showed pre-throws. And what I mean by that is, as soon as the players start coming on the field, he does a little flip to Brandon Ayuk. Listen, not a big thing, but that tells me that those guys are tight, right?
Yep.
You just flip the ball to him, he flips it back, whatever. And then as all the players are running out, he stops his throwing and daps everybody up. Just shows them a little bit of love. To me, That says leader. That says comfortable. That says he knows exactly what his place is on this team. And that was really shown in a lot of the conversations at the podium from not only himself and the way that he answered the question that you asked him, but also his teammates talking about how he's coming out of his shell a little bit. And you could just see it. I mean, there was like a noticeable swagger that he had. He's always had a little bit of swag to him. He always said the right things, but I just feel like listening to him this year, he doesn't have that nervous quiver in his voice. He's very confident in who he is, and it showed very early on to me. And those are some of the things that I took away.
Absolutely. And it's like he showed all this natural confidence. I was thinking, like, you didn't just develop this overnight. This is you. And what happened was you muted this last year out of deference and respect to the veteran quarterback and the fact that you were just a rookie, and just to sort of, show the team that you're a team guy. And he did that, and it probably felt weird. It probably felt like it wasn't natural. And now he gets to just be. To me, I just saw a guy being himself. I was like, oh, that's what last year was. That's why it was so awkward. Your press conferences, it's like you were trying to be someone you're not. Now he can just remember how comfortable and Jimmy was last year in those press conferences. Yeah. Trey was like that. To me, that means it's my team, my franchise, my team. I'm allowed to talk how I want it. It's not like he was cursing like Jimmy Ward or anything like that.
Right.
No cursing, Jimmy. I love Jimmy. He really doesn't care anymore. He's at the podium, just like curse word after curse word. Like, I love that man. He's great.
Jimmy Ward.
He's bomb.
Yeah, I mean, his personality just really is starting to take over this team. And it's so fun to watch him come out, because really it was that interview that broke him out of his shell, right? And I know there's a lot to make of whether the players like you or not. I don't know if he does or doesn't. That's really irrelevant. What he has found, though, is a way to interact with you, have fun with you, and just be jovial with everybody around him. Yeah. He talks a lot of trash. Yeah. He backs it up, and he's not afraid to just be who he is now. And I love to see that from Jimmy Ward.
He has fun with the whole process of being a professional athlete too. Yeah. Love it. Great guy. Yeah. He's super smart and sophisticated. He is. I'm a Jimmy Ward fan. All right, let's answer some questions. This one wasn't paid, but I want to address this. Ron says the statement you made about becoming a millionaire was uncalled for. And I've seen a lot of players point to this and say this is wrong. So let me address it.
Yep.
I was making a joke. I feel like the players are trying to act like I go to work in the facility hoping that someone's going to punch me in the face so I can sue them. And that I do this just to get of course I don't do that. I don't take personal shots at players. I'm not walking around hoping I get punched thinking I want to retire. I'm going to take your money. Like, I don't want to get Javon Kinlaw in trouble. I don't want to get players in trouble. I don't want to retire. I just bought a house in Oakland. I want to be here a very long time. So no, I mean, like, it was making a joke. I was trying to make light of the whole situation until he came on and things got weird. And then we hashed it out man to man. But that was it. I was just making a joke. And I'm surprised that so many players really think that I was like, I'm seriously coming around the organization being like, hit me, George. Hit me in the face. Like, what? I don't want to get hit by George. I don't want to get hit by Javon Kinlaw. That would hurt. I don't want to get a player. You think I want to ruin a player's career? Why would I want to do that? So I was making a joke. I obviously don't want to ruin a player's career. That's insane if someone actually wanted to do that. And what reporter has ever done that? It was a joke. That's all I'm saying.
It was a joke, but also there's some truth to it that you have to take everything in context, right? This is the way I read the situation, right, wrong, or indifferent. There was a question that was asked about you being afraid.
Right.
Reality is, yes, if this was the streets and you ran into Javon Kinlaw, you would be terrified. Right? That's a whole different thing.
Yes. But in that context, like, no, and I'll tell you why. Like, yeah. No.
Because if something happened, like, basically you're saying
1,000 witnesses there.
Right.
And videotapes. Like, come on. Like, no. I could have said that, but I made a joke.
Exactly. That's the way that I took it or read the situation. I could be wrong, but that's just the way I took it. So anyways.
I appreciate you bringing it up because all the Niner players are taking it real tough. Like, wow. Anyway, I just wanted to explain my side. You can agree with it or not. Mason says if Javon gets more than 5.5 sacks this season, you have to get the Mook Dog tattoo or donate money to charity if you're boring. 5.5? Okay.
Not a lot of sacks.
I don't know about that, but I would love to see him get 5.5 sacks this year. That would be great. I'd love to see him play 17 games this year. That would be great.
I like that it's either tattoo or you're boring. Those are the options. I love that.
Will the Kinlaw experience change the way you talk about players moving forward? I'm gonna keep doing my job the way I'm gonna keep doing my job the way I do my job. I'm not gonna cross the line. The thing about my job, it's the line for Kinlaw is really clear. Don't touch reporters. Don't threaten reporters. That's clear. For me, the line is gray. And I sort of make a living of like approaching the line, but not going over it. So all I want to say is like, I probably will do less of like, you know how I just mercilessly went after Mike McGlinchey 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Stuff like that, or it's like again and again, like maybe I don't need to do that. Just do it once. Stuff like that. Instead of like being obsessive and being, and this is like, the Niners didn't say you have to change the way. To their credit, no one in the Niners is saying be different.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, Javon, I totally hear you, and I don't want to upset you. And if you find me disrespectful, I wasn't doing it to get under your skin. Like, I was just trying to have a sense of humor. If you don't think it's funny, I'm not going to disrespect you. End of story.
Yeah, it's also, tough, by the way, right?
I don't talk about Javon Kinlaw very much.
You don't.
How often do we talk about Javon Kinlaw on this show?
We don't. I don't remember the last time I brought up a Javon Kinlaw. I really don't.
I'm not trying to leverage him for clicks. Like, I didn't go over to him at practice. I didn't invite him on my show. I'm not trying to. A lot of other people I didn't write a single article about this. Not one. I put up a couple of videos as evidence, but like a lot of other people are riding this wave harder than I am. I turned down every single radio interview about this today because I don't want to profit off of Javon Kinlaw and this anymore. It's over.
Yeah, let's be clear, right? And this is my stance and my stance alone. And I think we knew that the conversation would eventually lead here, although we didn't plan on necessarily going there. But I'll just say my piece. This made it to TMZ, right? Like this became a very large deal. The fact that Grant easily could have ridden that wave and made it a big thing and maybe gotten Javon in trouble. Like he didn't do that, right? And I think that speaks to your character overall, right? Like, let's take the personality, let's take the persona out of it. The overall character of the guy, Grant Cohn, chose not to do those things because he ultimately does not want to do what the video clip portrays that he's looking for, right?
Right. And so it seemed like I want to ruin these athletes' careers. Like, that's exactly what I don't want to do. But exactly what I don't want to do.
Here's what I find very, very interesting is that there's a group of people that hate Grant for being clickbaity, right? But those same people are all over Twitter saying things, talking about the situation, making light of the situation, clickbaiting essentially, and getting into Twitter spaces, hundreds deep. I mean, we're up to 1,000 in a Twitter space.
Right.
For what? Like, if you're interested in it too, like, don't act like you're above reproach. I don't know. It's just a weird thing to me. Anyways.
Right. Like every radio station out here milked it all day. I didn't mention it. I went and talked to Javon. Everyone out here milked it all day just so they could say Grant was wrong. It's like, okay, way to have it both ways, right? You talked about it, you profited off of it, and then you were like, bad Grant. Like, okay, then why'd you talk about it?
Exactly.
I didn't. Anyway, Niners Daddy says Trey is that guy. He's a true leader. That's what I'm saying. He is that guy.
Yeah.
Lucky Louise says Kinlaw better prove it after all this. I mean, that's what he's saying he's going to do. I mean, it's a prove it year for him anyways. Year 3, he knows what's at stake. Jerome says, I don't need to say it. Seriously disagree with half of your takes, but please don't change. You aren't malicious. I'm not going to change. I've been doing this a long time. I know where the line is. I think I'm pretty good at not going over it.
I think I want to say, can I just say this real quick too? I think again, and as an athlete, they have their right to have their feelings. Mm-hmm. But when you're talking with your friends, right? Like, this is just people talking sports. You say things like, oh man, that guy's trash. That guy's garbage, right? That's barbershop talk. I think that's what I try to bring to my show is just fan barbershop talk. Mm-hmm. I think that's what Grant and I do a lot here. And that's what Grant does as well. So when he says, instead of just saying in a boring way, like, yeah, he has bad knees. Okay. He's like, he has an 80-year-old knee. Okay. but he's basically saying the same thing. He's just doing it with a little flair. Like, is that really that big of a deal? I don't know.
Also, I didn't say that about Javon until yesterday after he came up to me. Like, that was like a friendly joke as like a little jab. Like, yeah, you got me on the field. Now I'm going to say, I never said that about him until I actually got that from my dad's book. My dad, and he has this pinned to the top of, I'm blaming my dad. He's a terrible influence. He has it pinned to the top of his Twitter profile. He had this story about Dwayne Kuiper, where Dwayne Kuiper had came to the team and he was a little bit older. And my dad wrote that he had an 80-year-old knee. And Dwayne Kuiper came to him before the game. He said, I saw what you wrote about my knee. You think I have an 80-year-old knee, huh? He said, how about this? We got an 80-year-old parking attendant right outside. How about he kicks you in the nuts? Then I'll kick you in the nuts. And you tell me who's got the 80-year-old knee. So, I mean, that's kind of legendary. And Dwayne Kuiper still tells that story. So I stole the line from my dad. I never said that about him until now. And it's a really low blow, I'm sure, of course. But dude, I mean, I was trying to make light of it after practice. I never thought it was going to escalate the way it did. I thought we were all having fun. Anyway, 80-year-old knee. I blame my dad. It was his. Put it in my brain. Mason says you're not boring. LOL. Do you think Kittle's going to have a bounce back year this year? Do you think we'll have team success health wise? I can't predict that. It's all dependent on health for him. That's all.
But we might talk about it.
Yeah. Jacob says, Grant, you a GOAT, my G. Don't be listening to all this BS people throw your way. What up, Jesse? Looking good, my guy. Also, Trey looking really nice. Yeah. True.
Thank you, man.
Matthew Saders, Grant, you don't have to confirm, but props to John Lynch for giving a 23-year-old kid with wild emotions a chance to collect himself and correct himself. I mean, yeah, John Lynch is extremely impressive. He's such a good leader. He has great instincts for just life. And again, it was my first time meeting Javon Kinlaw. It's crazy how the pandemic made that happen 2 years later than it should have. Crazy. Anyway, let's move.
Yeah, and I also think that, by the way, like, Kinlaw's a good kid ultimately, right? He's emotional. He should be. This is his career. He knows it's on the line. He knows what's at stake. Having that emotion is not at all wrong, right? Maybe just like Grant probably regrets some of the things that he said or the way he went at it. I think it's fair to say that Kinlaw probably does the same, and that's why you're able to come to an agreement face to face. You don't have to like each other; it's business, but you shook hands on it. You're good to go. It is what it is. It's really not that big of a deal. These things happen in the locker room all the time. It just happened to play out on YouTube. That's the unfortunate part.
Yeah, and a lot of people asked me today, I went into Spaces, there's like, is there anything you would do differently? I've been thinking about that all day. And yeah, I think I did find something I would do differently. Like, I feel like there was nothing else I could have done on the field. And then when he wanted to come on the show, I felt like I had to give him the opportunity to say his piece. I mean, I told a story. He needed to tell his side. But then like 2 to 3 minutes into the interview, when it was clear that it was kind of going to be, what it was, I think I probably could have said, you know what, Javon, this isn't good. Let's try this another time. And then ended it basically sooner. That's probably what I should have done. Although that's what I'm thinking at this point, because it didn't get better after 2 minutes. And and again, like after sitting down with him for 15 minutes today, I could see like, I just don't know him. So me trying to say something would set him off. And I'm like, he can't even hear me. Like, we can't even talk. And so we had to get to know each other a little bit before we could hear each other. So anyway, I'm glad that happened. Very interesting.
It is, yeah, very interesting. I think a lot of lessons learned, and hopefully everybody moves forward in a positive direction from here.
Absolutely. And I do think it's a little bit of a quirk of the pandemic, like 2 years not being in the locker room. I mean, that's unusual, and I think there's got to be a byproduct of that. Oh, like if you think of this as like steam boiling over, like this is 2 years worth of it. It usually kind of leaks out a little bit here every week. Yeah. I saw what you said to me about me today. This is like 2 years worth of stuff. And then like, dude, I haven't said anything about you in a long time. Well, he might be thinking about stuff from 2020.
For sure.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
For sure. Yeah, of course. Of course.
Keneal says, I've said this before, but the Trey press conference reminded me of Neo in the Matrix once he starts smacking up the agents he's beginning to believe.
What's funny is I swear he was on the verge of saying, I don't give an F what you guys think.
He should have.
And then he caught himself. And goes, well, respectfully,
Okay.
He changed it and articulated it, but he almost went there.
Loved it. Preston Bland says Kinlaw's attitude really concerns me rather than understanding that he hasn't lived up to expectations and working harder. He chooses to freak out about off-field comments that shouldn't affect him. I think he hold on. I think he works really hard, man. Like, I've been critical of Javon Kinlaw, but I haven't criticized his work ethic. I mean, frankly, I've been more critical of John Lynch for drafting him. My criticism was, dude, you knew about the knee at the combine. You traded Buckner for this guy almost straight up. Like, you set this guy up for these expectations. So, I mean, but I didn't go into that. But I'm just saying, like, I never said he didn't work hard. I'm sure he works hard. I'm sure it's killing him that his knee has done what it's done to him. I'm sure it means a lot to him. It's just about his knee at this point. If his knee can stay healthy long enough for him to get on the field and work on his pass rush moves, he has the talent. He could do it. It's just, see if his knee can stay healthy.
Yeah. Also, though, like, I talked about, I don't know. I try to talk about the human element side of things quite a bit. And I think that there's a true human element part of this that's being overlooked. Just because Javon Kinlaw has a lot of money doesn't mean he doesn't get to go through those emotions, right? I shared a story when we were, yeah, like, you get to go through those emotions. It's funny because I'm small peanuts, dude. I've got 3,000 followers on Twitter, less than 6,000 YouTube subs. Last Second Sports, go subscribe, by the way. But less than 6,000 YouTube subs. And I get people in my DMs like threatening my life.
Yeah.
Right? That's how crazy this world is. So imagine what Javon Kinlaw hears and feels and his family hears and feels. Like, it's a different world. We've got to expect that these guys can explore those emotions and go through them. I don't think, I mean, maybe Grant, you feel different. I don't want to talk for you, but I don't get the sense that you feel like you're a victim of some sort here. I think you're looking at it and saying, hey, listen, it is what it is. It boiled over. It got too big. But I don't think you're looking at it going, oh man, like, geez, I said nothing and Javon Kinlaw doesn't deserve to have those emotions. I haven't taken that from you. Maybe I'm wrong here, but that's not the way I look at this at all.
No, I think this could have been avoided if I had known him. But I think what we were doing, we were just not on the same page. We were not on the same wavelength. I thought when he came behind me, I thought he was joking around.
Yeah,
I thought it was a joke. I was like, it took a while for us to just be like on the same wavelength and understand where we were coming from. So, anyway, Jerome says, here's the thing: Grant's spot on with his player analysis, but the fan me will always disagree. Haha. Thank you. Matt Calloway says he'll be back to wandering graveyards troll. That means I'll get fired. Well, if that's the case, then your $2 will come in handy. So thank you, Matt. Scotty says, how do you not LOL when JV said, I've got bigger balls than you? That was really funny. It was hella funny. I mean, a lot of the things he said in that were just legendary. Legendary. So shout out to Javon. Bleacher Report has predicted Trey Lance's stats for the upcoming season. Can you tell us what they are and how they're wrong?
Okay, well, first of all, I had to take their stats, Grant, because they said that Trey Lance was only going to start 11 games because Jimmy Garoppolo was going to start the season. Like, let's be clear about that. They're already wrong off the bat. But I did take their stats, basically reworked them, and gave him a 17-game split so we know exactly what they think he's going to do. So let's start off with the completion percentage. We'll go number by number and say if we agree, disagree, whatever. Completion percentage. They have him at 68% completion on the season. Think that's too high, too low, or right where they should be? What are your thoughts?
Surprising. I think it's probably a little high for his first season. So I think he has it in him, and I think the scheme Kyle Shanahan will create a lot of high percentage throws, but he did complete 69% of his throws in his second start, but that's a little ambitious for his first season. I don't know. Josh Allen didn't even hit 68% last year, so I'm gonna say probably less.
I agree. I actually expect him to be around 63, 64%. So I thought that was very generous, but it also looks to me like they don't expect him to throw downfield a lot. It's almost like they expect him to play a lot like Jimmy G, and you'll notice this as I go through these numbers. So the next number that they have, they only in a 17-game season would have him passing for 3,315 yards.
Yeah.
That's low. That's 190, like 195 yards a game or something like that. That's pretty low. Yeah. That's low, I think.
It's probably low, but it might not be super low because I think this team is going to lead the league in rushing attempts. So while they're probably going to be high in yards per completion, yards per attempt, because they're going to be taking shots, that's probably why they're going to be above this. But maybe I don't think they're going to get to 4,000 yards. I just don't think they're going to throw enough.
I agree on the 4,000. I hear a lot of people saying 4,000 yards. 4,000 yards is actually quite a bit if you really look at it. To me, I think he'll probably be around 3,700 passing is I think a fair assessment of where. I just think 3,300 is really low. Yeah, 17 games. Of course.
Yeah. But I remember this, a Niners quarterback hasn't hit 4,000 yards since Garcia.
True.
Yep.
No, that's very true.
Yep.
But they do have a 17th game. We'll see. 4,000 is a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. They did give him 28 passing TDs, though, over if it's a 17-game season. 28 passing TDs. What do you think about that one?
Again, that feels like year 2, Trey. Like if Trey Lance started 10 games last year, I'd say like, yeah, hell yeah. But lacking experience, this offensive line, I feel like that's a little ambitious.
Okay.
Set the bar kind of high. He didn't play like the last 2 years, essentially. I don't know. Maybe he could. He's the talent, but I'm thinking more next year. 28. Wow, 28. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I actually think that's probably right about where I would put him. I would say between 26 and 29. So they're in the wheelhouse, I think.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that.
Okay, rushing yards, 525 rushing yards. What do you think about that?
He should have more. He should have like six carries a game, 6 or 7. He should average like 6 yards a carry. I mean, fewer zone reads, more draws and scrambles. He should average like 6, 7 yards a carry, especially with Debo next to him a lot of the time. This guy should rush. I don't have the calculator in front of me, but I feel like
that's 31 yards a game. It's 525 is 31 yards a game.
Okay. All right. But if you run 6 times and average 6 yards a carry, that's 36 yards a game.
Okay, so 36 times 17, 612 yards.
There you go. 600.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think anywhere between 500 and 700 is realistic, right? So I think they're right in the way.
He is going to run a fair amount. I mean, if you don't think so, like everyone compares him to Josh Allen, right? Go look at Josh Allen's rushing numbers. He is a consistent rusher in their off, and not like zone read stuff that much, but he gets his 6 carries a game, and they're big plays. He averaged 6 yards a carry.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot. And here's Josh Allen's a big. Josh Allen, by the way, also rushes for a lot of touchdowns. And speaking of, they have Trey Lance rushing for 7 touchdowns in a 17-game season.
That's 35 total. 7 total. Go over that. I think he's going to be the quarterback running thing is going to be a big part of their red zone offense. So
what do you think? 10? 10-ish?
10.
Okay.
I don't know that it's going to be a big part of their red zone offense. I'm just guessing that it would be. Like, why wouldn't it be?
I would think so.
Yeah, I'm just guessing. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that the option would be there for sure. And I think a young quarterback, the red zone is where things kind of constrict, right? And you may not see the field as well. You don't want to make a tight throw. You think you see it, but maybe you see it late. You second guess it. I could imagine that maybe he runs a lot more because of that, and that could result in some touchdowns.
Also because in the red zone, as you get closer to the goal line, the safeties play closer and closer to the line of scrimmage. So it's harder to hand off the ball to a running back and play 10 on 11 football. That's a good spot to play 11 on 11 in the red zone for sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would say regardless, I think around 35 touchdowns total is about where I would put him. I think a couple months ago, I tweeted out that he'd be around 35 touchdowns, probably around 4,500 total yards, 4,400 total yards. I don't think they're that far off. I thought that they were, again, the two things that I had a gripe with, I thought the completion percentage is a bit high. And I think the overall passing yards is a bit low. But overall, I think they're pretty close, actually.
What they seem to be describing is a highly efficient season from Trey Lance, in which the Niners have an extremely good running game. Yeah. And he scores 35 touchdowns. It sounds like what they're describing is like a 14-win season.
Oh.
I mean, what's their projection? That sounds like a really good projection for the 35 touchdowns and a 68 completion percentage. Dude, if Trey Lance does that in his first year with 2 years, like after being on ice for 2 years, the Niners are going to be a problem if they aren't already. So, wow, that sounds great.
Yeah. I would say that they win some games if that happens. I agree with you.
Yeah. Where are they at for turnovers? They got that?
They had, what was it for actual? Yeah, I think they had 8 interceptions. Let me see what that is real quick. So that's
Wow. 8 picks.
Well, hold on. That was over 11 games. So I got to figure out what that
Oh,
is.
okay.
Hold on, times
Okay,
17.
okay.
So 13 interceptions.
All right. Sounds
They
reasonable.
don't have fumbles on there though. They don't have fumbles.
Sounds reasonable. All right. Well, Bleacher Report, big fans of Trey Lance and the 49ers offense. I love it. I just hope that George Kittle and Kyle Shanahan can convince Alex Mack to come back, because that's the best plan the Niners have at center right now. That plan to like keep calling Mack every day and be like, come on. That plan. That's the best plan they got.
you had John Lynch in his office today. You could have asked him, what is your honest feeling on that though? Like, do you think that Matt comes back or no? What do you think?
Hilarious. All right, let's answer some more questions. Manny Pimentel says, please don't change your style of reporting. You are no longer just reporting. You are an entertainer. You make sports journalism actually enjoyable. Not some boring recycled stuff we've gotten for years. What do you think? Is the show boring tonight? Have I ruined it? Am I totally not myself?
Think you're yourself.
Tell me.
Maybe, well, I'll say this, little less F-bombs, but it's coming right. This just happened hours ago. Like, let's give him a day. Can we give him a day? He's a little less hyphy. Can we give him a day?
Like, people are really trying to cancel me on Twitter right now. So I'm just going to keep my head down and be like, yeah, I'm the same guy. But like, how many players in the team you think right now are watching this show? Being like, just say it. Say it, Grant. I got you. Fair amount.
At least their family members are.
Thanks for watching. Yeah. You guys were great in practice. Can I just say, what a great practice that was yesterday? The offense, the defense, the special teams, the synergy between all three areas of the team combined with the coaches. Wow. It was the best OTA practice I've ever seen in my career. Now, of course, I mean, it's just OTAs, but I want to say that. It was phenomenal. The pace at which everything, it was great. And you guys made that happen. So good job.
You've been covering this team for a long time, Grant. That was the best practice you've ever seen, yeah?
Ever. No, seriously, like the quarterback went 17-20. That was pretty cool. Like, but still, no Bosa, no 11 on 11s. We'll see. But yeah, no, I just want to say something nice. Jonathan says, Grant, have to say I was a little upset with the video after practice. It was unprofessional. I respect the fact you met with Javon, squashed it since. Respect for that, man. Glad it's behind you all. I hear you, man. Sorry you felt it was unprofessional. I thought it was all a joke. I was trying to laugh it off. Didn't work. So maybe you're right. Raj Beer says jokes have ramifications in this era. When you troll them like crazy, why don't you say it was a joke? Yeah, I mean, I have trolled Javon Kinlaw sometimes. I mean, said stuff about his knee and stuff, but not as much as I have about Eric Armstead or Jimmy Ward or Mike McGlinchey. And I really don't talk about him very much. But yeah, I mean, ever since Chris Rock got slapped in the face, you got to watch out.
It's true. It's actually kind of true.
Say it. Can't wait to say it. You see Dave Chappelle on him?
Yeah.
Chris doesn't have any easy delivery. Do I have an easy delivery? Probably not.
Easier than that.
The Tyler Drake says, are you still going to rag on Jimmy G consistently?
He's not going to be on this team, really. So what do you do?
Yeah. He's not on the team anymore. Yeah, I don't really want to. Do you think, Toby says, do you think Trey Lance and BA will be in top 10 in quarterback to receiver touchdown? What about Debo?
That's a great question.
What about Debo? What about Juwan Jennings? What about Ross Dwell? It could be.
I don't. No, I think there's just too many.
Ayuk didn't have a huge day at practice yesterday. Not that he was bad. Lance was too busy throwing to Juwan Jennings. I don't know why. Juwan Jennings is good, though.
Juwan Jennings, well, I'll say that he probably didn't have Travarius Ward on him the way that.
Maybe that was
right.
It.
Yeah, I think that might be it.
Yeah. All right, back to the show. Biggest takeaway from OTAs, not Lance related. Why don't you go first? I mean, you digested all the information.
Well, I'll say this again. I'm just going off of interviews and little videos that I saw. Actually, it is Brandon Ayuk, and it was interesting to me that he came out and took a lot of ownership with the way that he was in the quote unquote doghouse last year. He talked about how with the young receivers on this team and new receivers on this team, without Debo basically being there, that he's got to take a leadership role. He's got to set the tone for what the expectations are in that locker room. I actually thought that was pretty cool because he really has come across a lot like an introvert up to that point. And it doesn't mean that you can't be a leader if you're an introvert, but to say that outwardly tells me that you have a lot of confidence in where you stand with this team, much like Trey Lance does. And so for me, you're seeing without Debo there, without Trent Williams there, Jimmy's not there. You're seeing a whole crop of new leaders across this team. And to see Trey Lance take the reins, I think we kind of expected that. I don't think many people looked at Ayuk and are like, yeah, that guy's captain material. But maybe he is, right? Like I thought that was a really cool thing that he said. So
Interesting. I hadn't thought about him as a potential captain, but he was at rookie minicamp just to watch. That's kind of captain type of stuff. Now, Javon Kinlaw was there as well, but he's like rehabbing. Like I didn't have to be here, came here. Yeah, he was at. No? He wasn't just rookie minicamp. He was at the local tryout, the local pro day.
yeah, that's right. That's
You know
right.
what I'm saying? The local
Yeah.
pro day. So to me, that he is a guy who does seem motivated to take ownership in all those ways. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I got more takeaways. I mean, first of all, they didn't do much 11 on 11s, but I saw how they were warming up with their offensive line, and they did some 11 on 11s. And I know that's not going to be their offensive line in training camp or week one, but on that day, all 5 starters were gone. Lakin being one of them. He's gone. Trent wasn't there. Mac's not back yet. Brunskill has knee tendonitis, and McGlinchey is, on his road to recovery. So the Niners are really like sort of
Hodgepodging it.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, it's gonna be fine, but like not yet. And maybe by the beginning of training camp, but it's like they're waiting on McGlinchey, they're waiting on Brunskill, they're waiting on Mac. Trent Williams will be there. He won't do much in training camp, but and then Aaron Banks has to be good. That's their offensive line. So that's a little bit of, it could work out. It could, but there still are 4 question marks on it right now, including Brunskill, who apparently has knee tendonitis. Who knew?
Yeah, we don't want to talk about players' knees. We know what that leads to, but I would say this. Aaron Banks was there, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
How did he look?
I mean, again, no pads, no helmet, 11 on 11 for I don't know. Okay. All I know is that he was the starter. They're giving him the first crack at winning this job. So we'll see what he looks like when they put the pads on, but I don't know.
Okay. It's tough to say. I would say
he looked in better shape.
Okay, that's good.
More like an NFL player. I mean, last year he looked like a rookie for sure.
Okay.
He looked like
he's good.
Been in a weight room for a while. He looked good.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe what the 49ers have been telling us all offseason. Now, we haven't seen it for ourselves for sure, but that's a good sign towards, hey, maybe they do have a lot of confidence in who Aaron Banks is and what he was towards the end of the season, right? He's in much better shape. He looks physically more put together. That's a good start. That's all that you can say, but that's really all that was available. So that's not the worst thing in the world.
I got 2 more. Malik Turner is going to, there's always some wide receiver that you may not have heard of, but he's been in the league a little bit, and all of a sudden he just tears it up in training camp. That could be him because he tore it up yesterday. He's fast. He had a 60-yard touchdown. He burned George Odom, who might be a good player. So he's one. It doesn't mean it'll translate because it didn't translate for Trent Sherfield, but I think you're going to be reading about Malik Turner. And then one more. We were all wondering, is there going to be a competition that's strong safety? From what I can tell, no. It's Talanoa's job. I think he got all the reps with the starters. And again, what Eric Davis said a long time ago, but when he said Richard Sherman should move to safety.
Yeah.
And I was like, is he fast enough to play safety? And he's like, look, man, I played with Merton Hanks. Merton Hanks was not super fast, and he was a great safety who intercepted hella passes because he had instincts. So again, if that's Hufanga, great. He didn't break up any passes in this practice, but to his credit, he didn't give up any long touchdowns either, unlike George Odom. And him and Jimmy Ward together really forced Trey Lance to throw a bunch of short passes, which is sort of what Jimmy Ward and Tart usually do to people. So all credit to Talanoa. Let's see what he does.
That's good. Was Moore on the field at all practicing?
Yes, but not with the starters.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I was just curious to see how he's recovering
from. With Dante Johnson, a couple of backups.
Oh,
And George Odom. Yeah, George just got burned. It felt a little bit like the Adrian Colbert moment.
okay.
LA Blue 49 says, Grant, you should prefix all your critiques about players by saying in the most respectful way. That's funny. Now that is funny. I'm just going to take my cues from Trey Lance from now on.
It was good.
Carl Barcom says, back to Bosa. Do you think Drake Jackson is going to be able to be the starter on the other side of Bosa? Do you think that could be a tandem? It's kind of like it doesn't matter who starts. It's who's on the field in third down. So I don't know if he'll start anytime soon, but eventually, yeah. And he'll be the D4 didn't start, but he was impactful as a starter and paid like one. So it doesn't really matter as long as he's on the field when it's time to rush the quarterback. Second and long, third down.
Yeah, starter wise, I mean, you probably want somebody that can help in the run game. I really could see a Menahu kind of being that guy to be real. And then they, after first downs, start cycling in those pass rushers and move those guys around. We'll see. But you're right. The starter doesn't really matter who's on the field in third down. That's the money down, right? Can you get off the field and can you get after the quarterback on money down? Who's on the field then? That's what's most important.
One thing I thought was interesting, and maybe they just rotated all day. Because here's the tough thing about OTAs. They practice 3 days a week, but we only see one. So I get an imperfect snapshot. But so, for example, like Bosa wasn't there on Tuesday. And I figured the starters were going to be Ebukam on one end, Armstead in the middle, no Kinlaw, so Hassan Ridgeway. No, excuse me, Kevin Gibbons. Kevin Gibbons started at nose tackle. And I was curious to see who is going to start in Bosa's place when Bosa's not there. Who do you think it was?
Hyder.
Nope.
Oh, really?
I thought it might be Hyder. I thought it might be a Menahu. It was Jordan Willis. Again, maybe they rotated. But Jordan Willis also is pretty good.
There's a lot of pretty good guys on this defensive line. Let's be real. There is. Yeah.
Yeah, he's I thought he looked really good in when he got chances. I thought he was violent, explosive. Anyway, want to say that.
Special teams hero, Jordan Willis.
That's right. Jason R says Jimmy G and Dante Pettis come across like mob bosses after taking your criticism. Our society is soft. Keep doing you, Grant. Jimmy G and Dante Pettis come across like mob bosses. Really? Really?
Jimmy.
Word? Do that? I don't think so. I respect you. I appreciate you, Jason. Rajbir says Stephen A. Smith, Jordan Schultz just tweet. Stephen A. Smith?
Oh, man. Oh, I'm curious to see what the heck Stephen A. Smith had to say about this.
Stephen A. Smith?
That's wild.
Stephen.
Are you looking it up?
Yeah, I want to know. Dang.
I saw Schultz.
I don't see anything from Stephen A. Smith.
Maybe it was a response. I
don't see it. Let me check Jordan Schultz. What did Schultz say?
He was talking quite a bit ahead, actually.
That's not good. Who is Jordan Schultz? He's a podcast host with CJ McCollum, and they talk about sports. Okay, he's got a lot of followers.
Oh, he's CJ McCollum's pull up podcast partner. Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, that's cool. I think he said something along the lines of like, you made yourself part of the story. You deserve, like, what did you expect was going to happen? Something along those lines.
So Jordan Schultz says that making light of an athlete's injury and antagonizing players like Grant Cohn is not just unprofessional, but shows a total lack of understanding for the amount of work athletes put in. Okay, Javon Kinlaw has every right to be upset. Sure he does. Absolutely. Niners teammates support, no coincidence either. Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, he can be mad at me. But I didn't make light of his injury until he flipped my hat off. So I'm just saying. The only thing I ever said about his knee before then was that the Niners shouldn't have drafted him because of it. I didn't hold it against him. He didn't hurt his own. I mean, he didn't like sabotage his knee. That's not what happened. Stephen A. Smith too, huh? Okay. Anyway, Davis Mills. I always thought you were great, man. Thank you so much. Love your work. Brent Cassidy.
After last night, maybe that is Davis Mills. We don't know.
Brent Cassidy says, what do you think about Leon O'Neal Jr.? Can I just be honest and say I don't really have a sense yet? It's been one practice. He didn't stand out. Give me some time. I haven't seen him do much yet. JR says, Grant, if Kinlaw makes the Pro Bowl, will you buy a Javon jersey and wear it live on your show? A public apology will be in order during the live. Sure. If Javon makes a Pro Bowl, I will buy a jersey, wear it, and apologize. For sure. Definitely. I like that. How long before Chris Broussard gets update info about Trey Lance?
Dude, oh my gosh, that was so bad. A week later, he comes out, what was it, today, and talks about, well, I mean, there are reports that his arm just isn't live. It's like, dude, stick to basketball, please. You have no idea what you're talking about. Literally none.
Robert Whitaker says, and don't forget Grant made TMZ. Yeah, I got a lot of calls from people I went to high school with being like, what? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. All right, moving on. Position battles worth watching this offseason. I mean,
I think your guy Dwelly might be in some trouble, Grant. They just brought in another tight end. I feel like that backup tight end, and not only backup tight end, but third string tight end. Who gets cut out of those guys? Because Kittle is likely to miss a couple games. Like, he plays violent. Chances are he's going to miss some games. And if he does, who are those two tight ends going to be, right? Like, who are those other guys? So,
look, all I want to say is people have been telling me for 4 years that Ross Dwelly's in the bubble and he's not going to make it. And all I'm going to say is if you want to take Ross Dwelly's spot on an NFL roster, you better wake up pretty damn early in the morning and be on your P's and Q's, because Ross Dwelly is the freaking man in the offseason. Not that he's not good in the regular season, but he gets targeted in the offseason and he doesn't drop the ball. So just 2 days ago, what was it, yesterday? That was yesterday. He caught 4 passes. Playing with the starters because Kittle wasn't practicing. So, who started? Dwelly. Doesn't mean that he'll keep that spot, but he's been on the team a long time. He's a vet. He does everything right. You better be on your game to take Ross Dwelly's spot. But yeah, it could happen. It could.
Well, I'll say this about Dwelly too. I almost feel like he's just in the wrong offense, to be frank, right? He's not the best blocker. He's a serviceable blocker is what I'll say. That's the word I was searching for. Serviceable blocker, but he's not the best blocker.
He turned it from a weakness to something that at least he, gives effort and he can
get away. Yes. Yeah. And you love that.
Yeah.
But he is a pass catcher. Like this, he can get open and he does not drop the ball. I just feel like if he was in Kansas City's offense or something, he would do fantastic, right?
Tampa.
Baltimore, maybe something like that. But here,
Tampa.
There you go.
Brady.
Yes. Yeah. Good. That's a great call. If he was with Brady, he would do great. So, and it's not all his fault. I just feel like he is on the bubble, right? And this is the first time I've thought that. I hope he makes the team. I really like Ross the Boss, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens this year.
I also think Charlie Warner's in the bubble, and I also think there's no guarantee that Tyler Kroft makes the team. And I think it's going to be heavily based on how they perform this offseason. And all I got to say is day one goes to Ross. So maybe the next one, maybe Tyler Kroft ball. Again, what I don't like about OTAs is there were 2 other practices I didn't see this week. I just don't know. So I'm telling you, here's what happened in OTAs week 1. Technically, I'm telling you what happened in one of the 3 days.
Yeah, that's fair.
Trey Lance could have been 0 for 77 today, but I wouldn't know. No one would ever know.
That's fair. Yeah, that's totally fair.
Jesse, give me one thing. No, hold on. Did we finish? No. We didn't finish.
Well, yeah. Who else? Yeah.
All right. Nickel. Because right now it's Darqueze Dennard. But to me, that's almost veteran courtesy. Like, he is 30. He signed, I think, a 1-year deal. And he played some for them last year. So it's almost like by default. Now they say they like him, but he's going to have to outplay. It's not like he's in the Talanoa spot where they believe in him. Like, no, that you get the first crack at it, but you're going to have to outplay clearly Diamador and Womack. And I'm not sure that he will. He could, but so far, Womack looks interesting. The thing about Womack that stands out is he has hella long arms, unlike Diamador. So he seems like even though he's only 5'9", he can contest breakup passes that you wouldn't expect. I like that. We'll see how he does.
Did they give you indication that they were putting him at nickel? I feel like they almost view him as an outside guy, but we view him at nickel.
In the rookie minicamp, he was only outside, but in this practice, he got both. So
okay, that's good. That's good because I think the profile, we assume nickel, but we don't know how they view him, right? I think that's great. Center is the other one.
Oh.
Mac, listen, regardless of whether Mac comes back or not, this is probably Mac's last year at best if he comes back. So if that's the case, they've got Donovan West, who a lot of people like pre-draft. He's now on this team. And you've got some other guys there. Like, who are you going to decide to keep if Mac comes back, who are you going to decide to risk to put on the practice squad? And who are you just going to be comfortable with outright cutting overall? And if Mac doesn't come back, what the hell are you going to do at that position? I think that center spot is really interesting no matter what they do.
Yeah, and I wonder like how long this goes with Mac. Like, is their attitude like, look, dude, you signed a 3-year contract. Take as long as you want to make your decision, but like, we'll take you week 1. We don't need you there in OTAs, minicamp. We don't even need you there in training camp. We'll let all these young guys get the reps, and if you want to come through in shape at the end, great. Because really, probably Alex Mack off the couch is a better option. Here were their centers. They played 2 centers in practice on Tuesday. The starter was Jake Brendel. The backup was Keaton Sutherland. Those are their centers.
Oh,
So Donovan West didn't even get in action unless I missed it. Maybe he did. Maybe there was a third string that I didn't notice. But as far as I was concerned, it was those 2. So, yeah, Alex Mack. I feel like the Niners are kind of just saying, like, if we just ask him nice enough, you can't say no. You know?
I hope so, man.
If we just send a really nice care package, he'll say yes.
It's crazy because if Mac comes back, all of a sudden, all the questions about the offensive line, really, it's not that big of a deal. It's like, okay, yeah, they lost Tomlinson, but Banks is coming in. He looks pretty decent, and he's next to the best left tackle in the game. It's not that big of a deal. But once you lose Mac, if that's the case, it becomes a very big deal. So this thing could really go either way, and it hinges all on what Mac decides he wants to do.
My question with Mac is like, is he staying in football shape in the sense like with offensive linemen, they have to keep up all that weight. And he got married this offseason. He's still on his honeymoon, I think. Like, is he, like prepping for the season in that way, like eating what he would normally eat, lifting how he would normally lift, or is he 260? I have no idea. But if you're on the fence about playing offensive line in the NFL in almost June, like, can you actually play that season? I don't know. It's a question I would have for the experts.
Well, I guess that's another thing that I did kind of take away from, getting back to when they were on the podium and what they talked about. It really did come across like Mac is truly undecided. That's the vibe that I got.
I'm telling you, the vibe I got from Kittle is that, he'll come around. He'll come around. He can't say no to me. I'm George. He loves me. Like, okay. All right. Well, great. I hope that's the case because you got no backup plan. Unless there's something with JC Treader like under the table that they could possibly maybe. Otherwise, you got no backup plan. Don't tell me Jake Brendel is going to start 17. Nothing against Jake, but that's a big step up.
Yeah, you don't want to be there. That's not where they
No. It's like the Hronis Grasu position. You don't want to be in the Hronis Grasu situation. Willie says, not only buy his jersey and apologize, but do it with Kinlaw on the stream too much. Hey, man, Kinlaw's always welcome to come on my stream, and he knows how to get here. So, sure. Joshua says Cohn Law. Now, that is clever. I like that, Joshua. 905 KAR says Nick Mullins liked Armstead's tweet about you. Damn, man.
How dare he?
One of them days. Man.
Hey, listen, you're down bad when Nick, what's next? Ross the boss?
Hey, man. Hey, look, Ross, if you got to distance yourself from me to be cool with your teammates, do what you got to. Again, I'm not in it to be friends with the athletes. I don't need them to like me. And if they don't want to talk to me, that's okay. I just have to not cross the line. And that's important. And I don't think I did. But there are things in the future I could do differently. That's all I'm saying.
It's not the worst thing in the world, by the way, that the team is banding together over this. Like, this is a good thing for the team.
What are they supposed to do?
Right.
They're supposed to. It's a great thing they can rally around.
Yeah.
You want to talk about quality control? Giving the team a sense of purpose.
There it is.
Jerome M says, Grant, please tell Jesse your assessment of Brock Purdy. Also, I'm being sarcastic, retired firefighter in me. I'm going to stop writing people off in May. He threw a pick. I mean, sorry. He looked not good. But yeah, he's a rookie. He was the one hesitating. Trey and Nate Sudfeld were the ones letting it rip. But you know what? He's the rookie. So, okay, let's see how he does next week.
Grant knows how I feel about Brock Purdy. We're not going to discuss.
We're not going to even go there. Jason R says, will Robbie Gold make it through the season without injury? He helped us last year win a few games. Underrated. Yes.
Super underrated.
I looked in the crystal ball. He's going to be fine. No, I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know. Good question, though. That's a big question that we don't really talk about much in the offseason, but when you get to the season, it's like everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. More. One thing that can derail the 49ers season if it happens, in your opinion, Jesse.
I think continuity is probably the one. So first of all, I don't know if you took note of this, but I felt like yesterday at the podium, all the guys were a little on edge, like a little perturbed, right? Like they were already done dealing with the media early on. And so I thought that was a little interesting. But I also look at what happened last year with this team. Again, special group, they made a deep run, but they had a big chunk of guys coming back. This year at OTAs, unlike last year where everybody showed up, you had a lot of big names not showing up. You still don't know what's going on with your center.
Mhm.
Debo's still, until he's signed, he's not necessarily here. You've got a whole new coaching staff outside of basically your offensive and defensive coordinator. There's a lot of question marks here. Now, they can put it all together. They have the talent, but continuity. How does this team work together and band together? I think that early season East Coast road trip is always a good thing to bring a team together, and maybe that will be where things work out. But I think that's probably the one thing that's not being discussed enough is are they all on the same page as a team? Because that was special about last year's team. I think that remains to be seen.
Yep. How about the offensive line? I hate to keep like banging the drum here, but just the combination of a quarterback who lacks experience in an offensive line that has 80% question marks,
Mhm.
that can really derail things. So it could happen if the offensive line is good. It could all come together. But if it doesn't, you could be at the Nate Sudfeld level at that point, which is not where you want to be if you're trying to win games. And then also that nickelback spot. Let's say Talanoa really is a quality. He's no step down from Jaquaski Tart. Who's going to play like K1? What's the plan there? Maybe they'll have one. If not, there's a lot of good wide receivers who line up in the slot, including one they face twice a year, who went for a lot of yards last year. Cooper Kupp is his name. Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, it just comes to mind.
Yeah.
Nickelback is not only an elite band name, Grant, it is a big question mark for the next team.
I heard that group was just a big fan of sub packages in general.
They're no Smash Mouth, I'll tell you that.
It's true. It's true. Hey, here's the thing. Smash Mouth wasn't great, but they inspired that, hey, now you're an all-star line from Nori and nothing, which is a great line. I always, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about.
No, I know exactly. It's a great, it is. It's a great yes. And Noriega, yes, took it to a whole new level.
So love that. Love that part. So good job, Smash Mouth. You inspired Nori to make a great, you made it a hot line. He made it a hot song.
Now what?
Right. All right. So that's one thing there's plenty of things that could derail the season. Last thing that we're going to talk about is one thing that can change your mind completely about this season.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take it from the stance. I said this team was going to be 12-5. So opposite of that would be they would have to not make the playoffs and probably not be a very good team. I think that the only way that happens, the most likely way that happens is through injury. Like if they just can't stay healthy. Now, I think the team's extremely deep. That's one of the things that I do like about this team. So I'm very confident that they can be at least an 11-win team and make the playoffs and make a deep run here. Plus, I think a lot of the other teams have taken a step back. I think overall talent, the 49ers have taken a step forward. But at the end of the day, you said it early in the show, Grant, you cannot predict injury. And if you can't predict injury, they might get bit by the injury bug, crazy style, like they did in 2020. And if that happens, I don't think many, if any, teams can overcome that. So that would be the one thing that could happen that would just change my mind completely about my optimism with this season. And especially if it happens before the season starts, that's never good.
The way I look at this season is it could go a lot of different ways, but for the Niners to go where they want to go and to make the play, for the Niners to make the playoffs, I think Trey needs to start no fewer than 15 games.
Okay.
I think he might be able to miss 2, and the Niners can make the playoffs. Better just 1 or 0. So if the Niners offensive line can come together and be decent, and because the thing with Trey is like that we're learning is like he really messed up his finger in preseason.
Yeah. Yep.
That lingered all year, and then he messed up his knee when he's in his first start. So he holds the ball a little bit longer. A bad offensive line affected him last year. Is he going to be healthy for 16 games, or are the Niners going to be starting Nate Sudfeld more than once. If that's the case, then that's no good. But if the offensive line is decent enough and Trey Lance starts 17 games, I would feel pretty confident the Niners can make the playoffs.
Okay, so let me ask you in a different way. What would you have to see from this team prior to game 1 for you to be like, okay, now that I've watched this team a lot, I think that this is a legit contender. What would it be, that offensive line? You'd have to see them kind of dominating or playing really, really
Five
well
guys.
against this.
Five guys. Forget Trent Williams. 5 guys.
Okay.
Aaron Banks, Alex Mack,
Okay.
Daniel Brunskill, Mike McGlinchey, Trey Lance.
Okay.
Those 5. If they all play well this offseason, great. But how much Mike McGlinchey we're going to get? Is Alex Mack coming back? Is Aaron Banks good? Is Trey Lance good? I think he is. Is Aaron Banks good? I don't know. So those 5, if they all have monster off seasons, then you're thinking, okay, the Niners bet on themselves. It's going to work out. But I don't know if it's going to work out. They definitely bet on themselves, though.
Okay. That's totally fair. Again, you said that this was a 8-9-1 team. So for you, you'd have to really, those are the things that swayed you in that direction. If they show you otherwise before the season starts, then that's what would change your mind. All right, that's fair.
If they had given Trey 7 starts last year, 8 starts last year, gotten rid of Jimmy Garoppolo as he wants right away and beefed up the offensive line, replaced Laken Tomlinson or kept him, replaced Alex Mack or kept him, kept Tom Compton or improved that spot, I would say this is a 13-win team. Like, this team, it could win the whole thing. But they didn't do those things. So I feel like, I could be wrong. They bet on themselves, but, I'm here to be a critic. So I'm saying 8 and 9 wins. I'm just trying to speak my honest evaluation here. If I'm wrong, I'll say it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So a lot of pressure, Daniel Brunskill. It all comes down to you, Daniel, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh my God. I remember when we all got excited that we thought Daniel Brunskill was Mac in the locker room for like 20 minutes. That was fun.
Grant, did you have to have any tough conversations with SI? No. Again, I didn't break any rules. I deeply upset an athlete, and we talked about it. We worked it out, and it's not my intention to deeply upset athletes or to what did Jordan Schultz say, to like instigate. That's not my intention, but I didn't break any rules. I'm just saying, I didn't go up to him. Going up to an athlete and talking to them during practice is against the rules. They can take a credential. I didn't do that. Can't do it. They are working. Gotta leave them alone. Rajbir says, how many NFC West teams in playoff prediction, please? I mean,
I think 2
pretty good teams.
Yeah.
The thing about Arizona, they're not great, but when JJ Watt's healthy, he's good. And when DeAndre Hopkins isn't suspended, he's good. And Kyler Murray has some flaws, but he's good. So, just saying.
I think they're borderline.
They can get hot.
They can. And I think they're a borderline team. Again, last year I picked them to finish second in the NFC West. Got lucky on that one. That actually happened. But losing Chandler Jones after losing Reddick the year before, trusting that a Watt who is always injured is going to stay healthy all of a sudden. And it didn't look good without Hopkins, and you got to start the season without him. I understand that you went and got Marquise Brown, but this team is not near as talented as it was last year, in my opinion.
Yeah, agree. L Black 65 says Travarius Ward is aggressive sometimes and will be under the microscope for pass interference called bad combination. That is interesting because his numbers were off the charts last year, but the year before he had a bunch of pass interference penalties like Josh Norman. And I just wonder, is he going to get the benefit of the doubt here? Is he going to get the calls? If not, is D'Amico going to back him off and use him like 9 yards off the ball? In which case, is that what you thought you were getting? I'm curious. Right. Are they getting 2020 Travarius Ward or 2021 Travarius Ward? I'm curious. Because 2021, he wasn't Josh Norman, but he committed penalties at that rate. Sorry. It's fact. You can look it up.
Yeah, he is very aggressive, and that's what makes him great. But you're right. That can work against you for sure. You don't want to be, 6-7 games into the season and teaching professional cornerbacks how to play the ball and not get pass interferences. That's what they were doing last year in practice. That was not the best thing in the world.
True. They should prioritize that one. Yeah. No cheating. It's against the rules.
I would prefer that you don't cheat. That's what I would say.
Yeah. All right. That's the show. It is officially, it's not even dark over here. Niners After Dark came and went, still light, West Coast. What? I can't control that.
It's 10 o'clock here. It's very dark.
All right. Well, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for respecting the privacy and sanctity of the conversation I had today. And I, hope I gave you enough information. But at the same time, I owe it to Javon Kinlaw to honor. I mean, he hasn't gone on and said anything about it today. So I owe it to him because he doesn't know me and he's showing that he's a stand-up guy. And I'm trying to show that too. So
that's fair.
I appreciate you guys letting me keep certain things private. Anyway, fun show. Just an amazing week. I just thought I was going to go to the Niners yesterday and write a little good and not so good and move on and just keep it pushing. But now I got freaking TMZ.
Who knew?
Who knew? Life comes at you fast. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow with my pops. See you.